Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shati 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 Om. Okay, so last week we did not enter the mantra 7, huh? We did not begin the mantra number 7. No, okay. The crucial mantra of the Upanishad, this Upanishad. So the mantra 7 is rich and long. They consider the Turīya to be that which is not the outward consciousness, nor the inward consciousness, not the consciousness turn both sides, not a mass of consciousness, not the all-knowing consciousness, not unconscious, beyond perception, beyond transaction, beyond grasp, beyond inference, beyond thoughts, beyond description, traceable through the unbroken self-awareness, free from the world, tranquil, auspicious, and non-dual. It is the self, the ātmā. It is to be known as the very purpose, as it seems, of the universe. So there is a lot to be unpacked in there, as we say. So as we know, Turīya, which is free, limitless, actionless consciousness. It does not move anywhere. It does not turn anywhere. It's all pervasive. So being all pervasive, it's always ever present. Yeah? And without modifying itself, without becoming this consciousness, that consciousness. So it says that it's not the human consciousness that experience the awakened state when it is outwardly oriented, okay? So that is the Jiva Atma's consciousness moving out, looking out, moving out as good animals, always looking down, looking for food, looking around to see if there is any danger. And as human beings, we stop looking down, looking for food, yeah. But we look the world because we look out, yeah, because we want to get joy from this world. So it's not the awaker here. It's not reflect consciousness in the awake state, and it's neither the inward consciousness, meaning to say the dreamer, yeah. So it's not the dreamer. The dreamer is consciousness. It's a reflection of consciousness that still produces self-reflectivity, because the dreamer is there and he says, I am, and I'm here. So the dreamer does not know it's dreaming, of course, but it is inwardly oriented because it is experiencing its own mental emotional contents of one's vasanas. So therefore, it's not the consciousness turned to either one of these both sides, and it's not the mass of consciousness, as we say, of the prana, mass of consciousness, not all, the all-knowing consciousness. This is pointing, it's not Ishvara either. Ishvara is the all-knowing consciousness, is the omniscient consciousness. And it's not absolutely the unconscious mind. And this Turīya is beyond perception, beyond transaction, beyond grasp, beyond inference. Inference is important for us to understand, because in some circles, I heard before that people believe that self-knowledge is only possible by the means of inference. So no, self-knowledge is not possible by inference, because inference is recycled direct sensory experience. So we experience directly through the 5 channels, and then we hold some knowledge, some impressions, some conclusions, some determinations, and that helps us to make further inference. But inference is sense-based, and Turīya is not an object of perception. So inference is based on perception, as we know. So it's not inferential. It's not possible to be known by inference. It's not possible to be known by perception. It's beyond transaction and beyond thoughts, beyond description, except it is Turīya. It is Satchitananda. It is Brahman. But those are just pointers to something that cannot be described really. We can describe it as Turīya, as it's not this, not this, not this, not this, not this, not that. But there are some hints that the Upanishads presents again and again in regards to Turīya. Although it's beyond description, it's always shining the human intellect as I am. That is the self-awareness. I am, and I know that I am. I exist, and I know that I exist. So it's self-evident, self-shining, self-present, self-contained. So it's always there, illuminating our human experience. But it's not an object of knowledge, because it's the fundamental nature of the knower. Fundamental nature of the experiencer. Therefore, it's not an object of knowledge, it's not an object of experience, cannot be described besides Satchitananda. But it's traceable through the unbroken self-awareness. So here there is pointed that this Turīya, this consciousness, it's traceable. Now, traceable is a very beautiful word, because you need to trace through what? Through your very sense of conscious existence. So through the 3 states, we know I am and I experience, So there is an unbroken self-awareness through the 3 states. There is always this unbroken self-awareness, although in the deep sleep, we could say that it's subconscious self-awareness. So, and it can be traced. So the good news is it can be traced. And then when you trace it back to its very source of conscious existence, and then you recognize that you traced it through the very, very reflection of consciousness that allows you to know I am, I exist. I am, and I know that I am. So you trace through that intellectual capability, that we have, and then it becomes very, very clear that it's always there shining the human intellect. And then the next thing is to discriminate it from the mind or the intellect itself, because immediately it says here it's free from the world. So we know the mind is not free from the world. The mind is all the time changing according to the world. But here it says that this Turīya, although it's traceable by this reflection, self-awareness, you look at that and say, well, I am this self. So now what's left is, okay, now you have to learn not confusing this I am with the mind, with the intellect. You understand? So you are not the intellect, you are not the mind. You are this consciousness that can be noticed by this unbroken self-awareness. Okay, so we are self-conscious beings, because the other creatures around, the other animals, they exist, but they are not aware, that they exist the way we do. So we have a knowingness working for us that allows us to know, yes, I exist like my chickens, but somehow I know that I exist. The chickens do not seem to know. So they just respond very automatically, intuitively, or how you say the other word is, I forgot the other word. And here it says that this traceable self, Turīya, is free from the world, is tranquil, it's auspicious, and all of that because it's the only reality. It's one without a second. It's non-dual. Excuse me, just put this in airplane mode. And then he said, this is the self, the very ātmā, your very, very self. And this self it is to be known. It is to be known. If one has that kind of spiritual inclination as well, you cannot force somebody who is totally extroverted, materialistic, to say, hey, you must know that. No. So when maturity comes, you understand that, all experience, all collection of experience, for many births brought me to this understanding that I'm here just to complete my journey and get to know my true self, my true identity. So we have seen before that in the previous mantras that there are 3 quarters, and then there is a 4th quarter, which it's not really a quarter, but we say like, okay, it's a quarter. The only difference is that the 4th quarter is consciousness non-associated with an experiencing entity. So we can say that is another quarter. So, and we have all those names: Vishwa, associated with the waking state, Taijasa, with the dream state, and so on. So there are 3-fold doubles there, an association that makes me Vishwa, Taijasa, and Pranya, experiencing Virat, Hiranyagarbha, and Ishvara. You remember that, Philip? Okay.
Yes.
And then what's the deal with Turīya, the last quarter? So as we know, Turīya is consciousness not associated with a force state, mental state, but it is Turīya, is consciousness dissociated from all the other 3 states. So we have 3 states, and then we have consciousness that says, so let's say consciousness is not an experiencing entity, but we have to understand that there is, as a fact, that consciousness exists in association or non-association with these 3 agents, 3 states, and the 3 universes. Of course, there is such a thing, and that is the purpose of self-knowledge. And so understanding deep sleep helps us to understand what it is, this total dissociation with the awakened dream universe. But there is a dissociation, absolute dissociation, which is one's nature, that can never be experienced, because you cannot go there to Turīya and then say, oh yes, now I experience that I'm not associated. No, if you go there and you experience that you're not associated, and then you are experiencing. No, that happens in deep sleep. You are there and you realize that there are no namarupas to be interact with, but Turīya can only be understood here intellectually. And it's available not to be experienced, but to be claimed as my free nature, which in reality is never associated, but experientially it's always associated with one of the three states, three agents, and the three universe. Turīya in Mithya is always associated with the entities experiencing this universe. But I need to understand that my true nature is not associated with any entity experiencing any whatsoever universe through any whatsoever state. So it's there available so that we understand our free nature. And as the verse says now, it is tranquil. Why it is tranquil? It's tranquil because there is nothing going on. There is no duality. There is only I consciousness and so on. The Jiva ātmā now is all the time dealing with interacting with a lot of other factors, which affects the mind. The mind is no longer tranquil because there is always potential for conflicts and trouble and things to be resolved, and one's desires and one's fears and so on. But consciousness of a true nature is free from all of that. It's auspicious, tranquil. It's absolutely free and independent from the three worlds. Why? Because it's non-dual. It's the only reality. It's one without a second. Okay. So, and then what happens, as we know, once the Jiva ātmā, who is an entity, experiences the three states through the three bodies and experience the three universe, once the Jiva ātmā understands its auspicious nature, free and independent from any experience of the Jiva ātmā, and then I say, wow, that is tranquility beyond the deep sleep state. Why? Because the deep sleep state is there, but the word is there potentially, as seed potential. It's there, boom, coming up immediately once the prana becomes a dreamer or a waker. But there is a situation which is absolutely shanti, tranquil, which is my nature. And then Jiva ātmā understands one's nature, and then it starts to experience more and more tranquility as the agent, so the so-called Vishwa, because I understood my nature is full, whole, and complete. It is auspicious and tranquil because it's the only reality. So if there is only I without anything other than myself, and then the duality, I and the objects of experience, which appears to serve the purpose of make me happy, they are no longer relevant, although they appear, but they are, oh my God, these are just Maya playing its trick. There is only I consciousness, and then, as we know, the mind of the Vishwa, who holds this knowledge, becomes more and more tranquil due to this constant, ever more constant knowledge that I am free and independent of the three worlds and the three states and the three agents. I'm this witnessing subject consciousness existence, in which all of that is superimposed upon, and I don't change. I don't do anything. This is the ātmā that we want to know so clearly, so that it becomes available to us at all times. This constant remembrance, especially when we need it, as we know. The question then, so if I am tranquil when in my nature, which is non-associated, how do I dissociate myself from the three states and the three agents and the three universe? So because I'm always in one of these three states, but then some people say, no, if you go in nirvikalpa samadhi, you become dissociated. So, and then we called nirvikalpa samadhi Turīya, because there it appears that I'm no longer associated with either one neither one of those three entities. So, but if we analyze it a little closer, the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, they all remain. The word, the three conditions of the mind, they all remains there potentially. They remain there dormant, latent, in the causal body, ready to just emerge again. So, bottom line, literal physical dissociation from the three states, it is just impossible. It's impossible because even in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there is an association. Association with what? With the causal body of the yogi in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And it's the causal body which, with which this yogi is associated with. It has those seeds of the three worlds or four worlds whatsoever, and they are going to come back at certain point. So consciousness cannot be separate from any one of these three or four conditions. So then how can I dissociate from these agents and these universe and these states if my nature, my tranquil, peaceful, and ever shining, unchanging nature is not associated? How can I make this dissociation possible? So, and then Vedanta says this dissociation is possible, but it's a very, very intriguing dissociation because it's a dissociation of something that was never really associated. So it means to say, how I'm going to dissociate? I'm going to dissociate by understanding that I was never really associated with anything. So therefore, Turīya is a sangha, never associated with anything. Okay? It's never associated. The world is associated with consciousness. All these different lokas in the universe is associated. They somehow borrow their existence from consciousness. They are superimposing consciousness. But consciousness remains always dissociated from every one of these states or lokas, and entities experience these respective namarupas. So, and then it says, this dissociation happens in an ingenious and different way. And then he left some, how you say, suspense. So when I'm talking now, you see me small or big?
You mean on the screen?
Yes, please.
Your usual self, big.
Okay, big, because I changed the last class. I changed, we start with the other thing. I can see you guys, but then whosoever speaks appears on full screen or almost full. It's not really like Turīya. Turīya is full, whole, and complete without any association, without anything. Okay. So again, next class, Swami comes back and hammering again on Turīya and hammering again on the mantra 7. So the three entities associate with the three words, and then there is the fourth non-relational status compared to the other three. So how can it be possible? Can consciousness dissociate at all? No. Yes and no. Superficially speaking, consciousness can never literally, physically be dissociated from those three states. Why? This is a point. Consciousness is all pervading. So how something that is all over, never not present, pervading this universe, all universe, present, past, and future, and beyond all universe, How can something so pervasive associate and dissociate? It's impossible. It's always there. Huh? Now, consciousness is the substrate, is the screen on which all these different entities and universe are projected upon. So it's not possible because it's all pervading. That's very nice. Consciousness, Turīya, can never get away from anything. So it is a pain in the butt, as we say. It can never be anywhere else, you know? All the time it's there. We lost Mark. And then again, we have the analogy with space, which is very nice. Yeah? Space cannot dissociate from anything below the line of Mithya, as we say, often we put. Yeah? Likewise, consciousness cannot physically dissociate from any object. So, in deep sleep, we are experiencing a certain dissociation. Similarly, in Vikalpa Samadhi, the meditator experiences a similar dissociation from the world, physically and mental world. But there are two problems. Even though I experientially dissociate, it's not an actual dissociation because everything remains potentially present. Actually, it only appears to be dissociation because the body-mind are in potential form. And so this dissociation is only temporary. So therefore, experiential dissociation is not possible for Turīya. Turīya pervades everything, and it's not the fourth state, yeah? But it's the common denominator, the common ground, holding the three states and the three experiencing agents. Okay. So, and then in which way Vedanta says that dissociation is possible, but in a different way. The method is knowledge, jnana, understanding. Dissociation can be brought about through sheer understanding, knowledge. What type of understanding? The understanding that I am the observer and the world is observed. I am the knower and the world is known. I am the experiencer and the world is experienced. So I experience through the body-mind. The body-mind has three different states, but I am free of the body-minds and their states. So therefore, I consciousness, although all the time associate like a pain in the neck, all the time present, never not present. Fundamentally, it's not really associated with anything because these associations are just like mirage superimposed upon Turīya. In Mandukya, the observer, the knower, the experience are given a special status. I, the observer, am Satyam, and the world I observe and know is Mithya. I, the consciousness, am Satya, and the world is Mithya. So, in which way Satya associate with Mithya? I, the light of consciousness, the witnessing conscious existing principle, experiencing and knowing the world, I am Satya. In which way I, Satya, the light, illumining and revealing this different universe and the agents experiencing this universe, how can this get associated and dissociate? So can Satya and Mithya really be associated? They can be together, but can they get associated at all? Mithya can never touch the Satya, even though it's very much on the Satya. So a mirage will never touch the desert sand, okay? although the mirage is associated with the desert sand. But is the desert sand associated with the mirage? No, it's Mithya doing all of that. It's Maya doing all of that. You understand? So the sand is just there. The screen is just there. The mirror is just there. And then this phenomenon happened. And then we say, yes. So all these universe, all these namarupas, all these jiva, they associate with consciousness, but consciousness is a sangha, okay? Is a one direction, one direction only. There is association, but from the standpoint of Turīya, there is no association at all, because Turīya is free of any and all possible association. So Mithya depends on Satya. Satya is free of Mithya. And Mithya can never affect Satya. Although Mithya is always there, superimposed or project on Satya. So we have all those analogies, metaphors that helps us to understand the movie can never affect the screen. So there are no dramas there are no tears, there are no blood, there is nothing on the screen, because the movie is a superimposition as good as non-existent. So there is a seeming connection between Satya and Mithya. Once it's understood that the association is a seeming association, one understands that there is no factual association. And then it becomes clear that I, consciousness, Turīya, am only apparently simile, Vishwa, Tejata, and Pranya. But fundamentally, I'm not associated with any one of these entities. I'm not associated with any quarters. No, it's just Mithya. Is that which is available, it appears, it's an appearance, it's appear, and it's experienceable, but it's not real. And there is so many examples of things that appear in a certain way, but are not real. So this knowledge allows us to clearly understand that I apparently become these three experiencing knowing entities, but in reality, those are just roles, like a role of a man as a father, as a son, as a husband, and so on. Even while playing the roles, I am Turīya, because the roles never touch me at any time. So let's see this analogy here, I don't remember. Shureshwara Charya gives an example in another text that I don't know to illustrate this point. Imagine water in a transparent glass. Oh yeah, this is very nice. There is water in a glass. There is a straight rod partially dipped into the water. When the rod comes in association with the water, the rod under the water appears to be bent. How are we going to straighten the rod? You understand that, Philippe? Anything in the water appears like bended. You got that, Philippe?
Yes. In the water.
Yeah. Otherwise, I can show it on my glass of water. So the question is, how can we make it straight? It's bent. It's no longer good. So only by knowledge I can make it straight. I can make it straight here. So I can make my conscious Turīya nature is never associated here, although it's going to be apparently associated with any sort of Mithya universe. Mitya Jivas. Now, so I will continue to experience the band to be band rod, but I can clearly say the band is straight because I have straightened that in my mind by the means of jnana knowledge. Similarly, consciousness, Turīya, is never bent, it's never modified, it's never really associated. During the three states, the roles as the awaker, sleeper, and dreamer appears.
Ela foi ali e já volta.
Huh? Okay, similarly, consciousness is Turīya all the time, during the three states, etc., etc. I am always consciousness, asanga, never associate. And then once I know that I'm never associated, then I can enjoy association. Yeah? So many apparent paradox. Yeah? Once I know that I'm not associated, then I can enjoy association. Yeah? Then I can play those roles as if I am the waker, and basically only the waker. The dreamer is so, it's not very smart, the dreamer. But the awaker can get wise and then play the roles. The roles. The role is the role of the waker. It's going to play the roles we see the role of the waker. And then and is going to enjoy the world much, 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 much better and be free from the world. And what is the nature of this Turīya? And then it says that it's not an experiencer, okay? So I am the experiencer. Now I am the knower. So when we say that, we mean I am not the body-mind experiencing its respective states or universe, but I am the consciousness. And although consciousness is not an experiencing entity, okay, I am the experiencer in my true nature. But here, what's the nature of this Turīya? Sorry, I was misreading here. As we know, Turīya is not the experiencing body-mind, and it's not an object of experience as well, okay? So the first thing is to understand that Turīya consciousness is not the experiencing entity, appearing as the three states and so on. And then here Swami says that we have three states, but sometimes there are some other states, some different states, or transitory states, altered states, howsoever we want to put it. So certain extraordinary states of experience in which the mind cannot be said to be in the waking or in the dream state, but in some intermediary states. It can happen just before you go to sleep or any other time. You can experience extraordinary things like premonition. So one can experience hallucinations, those flashes of mystical epiphanies and so on. One can be a yoga as well, in control yoga experience. Turīya is none of these three states and none of these other altered states. There are different states as well, altered. People love these different states. Here it said you can experience extraordinary states. And in these extraordinary states, you can have premonitions and some other powers. People love it because if you experience something besides the three states, you feel extraordinarily special because I'm experiencing something that nobody experienced. And that is the danger as well, okay? Because it's going to to feed the spiritual ego of the yogi or whosoever. So Turīya is none of these three states, is none of these altered states, and Turīya is not simultaneous experience of the three states, because one may think, now I am consciousness, I experience simultaneously all the three. No, Turīya consciousness is not an experiencing, knowing entity. Turīya is not the experiencer of anything. Oh, how bad. So what is the game there? What's the gain? What is the benefit? And then one would say, oh, maybe some inert thing, because if we cannot experience anything, it must be like a rock I have in my garden. My rock here does not experience anything. And Turīya consciousness is not going to experience anything. So it's probably some inert thing. And then Swamiji says, no, it's not inert. It's just your nature's consciousness without association with any object, which experientially speaking is not possible. But fundamentally, we know that consciousness, is not really associated with anything, but everything is associated with consciousness. Everything owns their existence to consciousness, is blessed by consciousness. So it's like electricity can produce so many different outputs, but fundamentally, electricity is not hot to produce heat. It's not cold to produce freshness in the hot summer. Consciousness is like electricity. It does not have any quality to itself, but it produces these three states and these three universe and the three agents. But electricity is not really associated with any device. Likewise, consciousness is not really associated with any device. It's not consciousness of something, but it's consciousness by itself, very important. This Turīya is consciousness, but it's not the consciousness. I'm conscious of something. I'm conscious of my consciousness. This is a good one, You have to be conscious of your consciousness. This is the very nature of the Jiva ātmā. It's self-conscious, self-aware. I am, and I know that I am. And that's what needs to be traced back. But it's not that consciousness is experiencing itself, okay? Because consciousness is not an experienced entity. So it's not consciousness experience something, and it's not consciousness experience this reflection that occurs in the human intellect. It's consciousness, period, by itself, not experiencing anything. It is the reflected consciousness with certain qualities that experience its true nature, this self-awareness. I experience consciousness. Yes, I do experience. I often like to say that there is a certain element, experiential element in self-knowledge, but not in the sense of, I experience consciousness. No, I'm experiencing a reflect consciousness that allows me to understand that I'm always shining my intellect. You understand? Producing three states or intermediary states, but I'm never not present. So it's not consciousness of anything. It's just consciousness without any association. It is consciousness by itself. Oh no, but consciousness cannot exist without an object. so that consciousness is conscious of the object. You understand? There are some people that even go to the extreme to say consciousness only comes when the object comes. Okay, and then some other circles say consciousness and the object come together. No, this is the mind. You understand? Consciousness is conscious without any association, and it's not conscious of anything, does not require the world to be conscious of the world. Consciousness is consciousness by itself. And when you say like I am self-conscious, no, is the intellect saying like I'm conscious, of my original consciousness. How you are conscious of your original? Because there is a mirror here and I see the reflection. You understand? So I'm conscious of the shape of my body because I have a mirror in my bathroom. No? So it's not an experiencer, and it's not an object of experience, which is the other side of this experiencing deal. No? So it's not an experiencer and cannot be experienced directly. Yeah? But it can be understood and it can be experienced, and that goes again to the experiential element of self-knowledge, can be experienced only as its reflection in the human subtle body. And then you experience the reflection. I mean, we experience our body image in the mirror every day, and we say, that's good enough. Just imagine if I would have to pull my eyes and bring it out. I mean, like some of these movies, or cartoons, you take the eyes out and put it back. So just imagine I take it and then I turn and then, okay, now I'm visually experiencing my body. No need. The mirror is more than enough, isn't it? I have a mirror. What is this mirror? We know Vedanta is a mirror that's going to reflect to us our true nature through all these different pointers and logics, and the subtle body itself is a mirror. Once we understand that, shining one's original consciousness, which appears as human consciousness. When it appears with human consciousness, is already impacted by the gunas. It is already the mind, it's already programmed, and it has a hard time to apprehend this pure reflection of consciousness in itself. Why? Because it's colored by so many concepts and notions, wrong notions, limiting notions. I am the mind, I am the body mind. So, but once we clear this reflector of all these, wrong notions, and then we have a nice reflection that occurs, which is called the reflected consciousness, chitta bhasa, in the Panchadas, or the human intellect. But it cannot really be perceived by the five senses. Yeah? It can be understood by the mind only. Okay. Therefore, it's beyond all transaction. And then Swami brings a nice word here that if we don't color this word with a lot of esoteric meaning, this Turīya is transcendent, is the transcendental reality. Why? Because it transcends. It's not of this world. You understand? It's not from Mithya. It's the substratum of Mithya, which is Satya, the only reality. So it transcends Mithya and the suborders of Mithya, such as the three states and the three jivas and the three universes. It's outside of all of that, or it is the substratum of all of that, and it's the only reality. Yeah? Again, Swami comes back to squeeze some more juice from the mantra 7. In this significant mantra, the essential message is the Turīya is the name of the self, ātmā. I. Turīya is the I, the true nature of the knower. You see, in the beginning we say mithya and satya. Mithya is what can be known. Satya is the knower. But the knower of mithya is the I, but this I is an I which is not identified as the body-mind I, okay? So it is the true nature of the body-mind, is the true experiencer and the true knower. So therefore it says here the Turīya, which is the true knower, is the very self, is the very I. Yeah? This I is the consciousness. It is the witness principle, which is going to allow the experiences for the awakened dreamer and sleeper. Once consciousness is associated with those 3 quarters, which is not well the better way to present it, but when these 3 states and these 3 entities are superimposed on Turīya, right? And then I myself, I am called Brahman, Turīya. I am the force. It's not the fourth state. It's not the fourth universe. It's not the fourth entity. No. This is the only reality. When I understand the true nature of these 3 agents as non-associated with the awakened dream and sleep states. The question is how we dissociate, and we have seen it. No? Physical, literal is not possible. There is no such a thing as the fourth state. There is only 3 states and some intermediary altered states. There is no such a thing as Turīya, the 4th state of the yogs. No. The 4th state is not really a reality. How we know that there is no 4th state? The Upanishad talks about only 3 states, but the word 4th state does not occur in the Mandukya Upanishad. You see, in the Mandukya Upanishad, this is such a misunderstanding. It seems to be an eternal, beginningless misunderstanding. In this Mandukya, it never appears that Turīya is the 4th state. It says it's the 4th quarter. No? Always the fourth common denominator, which the 4th principle, the 4th factor. Yeah? But the 4th state does not occur in Mandukya Upanishad. So the Turīya state does not exist at all, you know? And as Ramji would say, pick it up and get over. There is no such a thing as the consciousness experiencing itself, you know, as Turīya, transcendental experience. So as from the standpoint of experience, there are only 3 states, 3 entities experience, 3 universe. And I'm always in one of these 3. And furthermore, in my true nature, I never get away from one of these 3. Yeah? So how are we going to discriminate and separate Turīya from the 3 states? The 3 states superimpose upon I, consciousness of Turīya. How am I going to separate I, Satya, I, consciousness, I, Brahman, from the world that appears within myself? As we know, only by knowledge. This is the essence of this Mandukya Upanishad, is just to demolish the idea that self-knowledge or enlightenment is a 4th state. It begins now on this one, which is the most important mantra. And then Gaudapada is going to come behind, demolish many other notions that, are present in all spiritual circles around this planet. And understand that knowledge has to take place in the awakening state. Now we go back to, the visual is the only relevant agent in that state, in this physical material world, is the only relevant. But why? Because wisdom, knowledge is only possible in the waking state. As we know, as a sleeper, we go there and we enjoy and we come back every time a little bit more relaxed, but as ignorant as before we entered the sleep state. So as the dreamer, poor dreamer, does not know much of anything, He gets excited by all those projections, which are one's inner material, and one's intellect there is almost good for nothing. So we are left as the visual, the awaker experience this physical material universe. So it means to say, doesn't matter. If you want to be a dreamer, but it's never going to help you. If you want to sleep all the time, be a sleeper, take some pills or whatever, but you're never going to resolve your fundamental, essential problem as a human being. So we need to value the awakening state as the only state in which I can gain knowledge first and then self-knowledge as a conclusion of our journey. So then the Upanishad says that I, the experiencer, consciousness principle, non-experience consciousness principle, am Satyam. And the three states belong to the lower order of reality, which is a projection, otherwise called mithya. That which appears and can be experienced, but it's not real. The moment I get this knowledge, I have dissociated from the three states and the three quarters altogether. Satya and mithya can never get associated. They are in proximity, but cannot get associated. So is the screen in the cinema associated with the image? No, not at all. No? The images are associated with the screen. Yes, somehow, because without the screen, there are no images. But if you really turn off the projection, and then you go there, and then you see the projection, the images project were not real, therefore they are no longer there. That is not really association, neither from Satya to Mithya, much less from Mithya to Satya, much less from Satya to Mithya. But it appears to have an association. And if we want to accept certain association, it's recommend that we accept the association of Mithya with Satya as dependent on Satya. But we refused the association of Satya with Mithya because Satya is a Sangha, free from any possible association. So they are in proximity, meaning to say Satya is there making Mithya possible, is the substratum. But Mithya can never touch Satya. A mirage in the sand, mirage water can never wet the sand in the desert, but the mirage water cannot wet. Move and the screen, all those analogies to help us to understand in which way we are absolutely free from Mithya superimpositions. The same way the screen, the same way the sand in the desert, the water in the desert, and so on. Therefore, when Mandukya says that Turīya is said to be the fourth quarter of what? Of ātmā, of the self, the fourth quarter. So we have 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, and then we have the fourth quarter. But the fourth quarter is not of Mithya, is of Satya, if we want to put it in a more didactic way, so that we don't mix up the fourth quarter with the other 3 quarters, which are within Mithya. Yeah? Therefore, when Mandukya Upanishad says that Turīya is said to be the fourth quarter of the self, it's not really the fourth quarter, but it's the very self, the very ātmā. Turīya is considered to be the fourth period, the fourth period. Yeah? It's also very nice. It's not the fourth state. What is that? Oh, it's the fourth deed. It is the fourth period. You can't call it anything, but it is the common, the background, the substratum of the 3 states and the 3 universe and the 3 agents. So, and it belongs to Satya, the only reality. If we want to compromise these teachings due to the limitation of words, it's free from Mithya, but because it's Satya, Mithya is there superimposed in Satya. So it's not a fourth state or the fourth quarter, it's just the common denominator. However, it's not the force, but it's only the self. I should know Turīya only by claim I am Turīya. I am conscious existence of limitless nature, which is acknowledged only possible in the awakened state. Therefore, we must value our awakened state and do the best we can out of it. The nature of that Turīya ātmā is described in this mantra number 7. Each description is profound, worth meditating on for weeks. Gaudapada will extensively elaborate on this mantra. In the last chapter, we did in Brazil, the first chapter, the second chapter, and the third chapter. We're going to do the fourth chapter in Portuguese language during the next Carnival holidays in Brazil. So you are also invited, Lynn, to learn some Portuguese language. So the nature of Turīya is profound, is going to be elaborate deeply, profoundly in the last chapter. I'm not the waker, I'm not the dreamer, I'm not the sleeper, even when I appear as one of those. I'm not the mind, I'm not the mind, I'm not the mind, experience these different states. And I'm not the mind experiencing altered states or mystical states. I'm not the mind, period. I'm consciousness which bless the minds, so to speak, so that it can experience the 3 states plus some other different altered states. I have commonly speaking 3 appearances, but I'm always consciousness. I am different from all these states and these bodies or these minds experience these different states. This is the first part of the description of this mantra 7. And we're going to go more into this mantra 7 this coming Monday. Ishvara allowing you, of course. Okie dokie. Anything from you guys?
Thank you, Orlando. It's just really lovely. And I especially liked when you described that part of the mantra that says it's traceable through the unbroken awareness. That's beautiful.
It is traceable. It's traceable by knowledge, and it's traceable even experientially. Understand?
Yeah, I've been noticing that.
Yeah, yeah,
Things do change.
yeah.
Things do change.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste, my dear friends. Next Monday again in the same Mandukya Karika channel. Ishwara willing, of course. Bye now.